What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. It has been many days since my last video, and I could explain that. So I've just been very busy with family and just a lot of personal things, so I haven't had time to come to my dad's house to film any videos. But I am fixing that, so I'm gonna film a couple videos at a time while I'm here, while waiting for the paint and other things to happen to this car, just so I have some sort of content, and I figured knock some things off my list. So currently I am starting a new job. Saturday's my orientation, then Monday I do start. So I'm going to be pretty busy. So I want to make sure I film a couple videos ahead of time just so I have stuff still going on. So I have a good amount of you guys just asking me where I've been. Where's my videos? I know it's only been a week, but to me I said I was going to make sure that a video is on time. But of course everyone says that and life does happen. So today's video is definitely going to be something interesting. I decided to do a couple story times for those of you who may be interested in some stupid things I've gone through when it comes to these Mustangs. For starters, today's story is going to be about a throwout bearing gone to hell. Now, I know you're wondering, what does that mean? What is a throwout bearing to those of you who don't know or who drives automatics? I'm just kidding. But today I'm going to be talking about a throwout bearing that has caused hell for me. And yeah, so we'll get into that right now. Simba. What's up, fool?
Yeah. I was like, damn, fucking insane. She was like, baby, will you roll my hand? I was like, hey, will you come my way? She was like, I've been thinking about it all day. Yeah, I've been in a fuck this shit mood for a minute. When you're coming down, first you're gonna buzz it down. When you lock that door, got me smiling now. Woo, jaw really hit the ground. Yeah, smoking my shit seems.
All right, for those of you who don't know, a throwout bearing is basically a piece inside your manual transmission that disengages the engine from that manual transmission. So it's a very important and vital piece inside your manual transmission. And when it goes, sometimes there is a severe rattle, or when you start to release the clutch, it's just making all sorts of noises. It could cause a whining noise. But that could also be the pilot bearing, but there's all sorts of pieces to a manual transmission. But today we're talking about the throwout bearing. So a lot of people do know what that is and understand the whining or the rattling when you have your foot off the clutch, and then when you put light pressure, it goes away. That's usually a way to diagnose and troubleshoot something quick when it comes to that. But when I first got the car, that was like the only problem that the previous owner mentioned. And it didn't bother me too much. I didn't understand manual transmissions because this was my first 5-speed, stick shift, any type of car. It's always been automatic. And I was very worried and concerned at first. And because when I Googled it and found out that you have to drop your whole transmission to remove that piece and all that stuff, I got scared. But so I wanted to get it fixed because I didn't want anything going wrong with the transmission. And those are pricey pieces. You know, if you destroy your transmission, you're looking at a couple $100 and a lot of labor to do that if you don't have someone you know. So I was just worried, and I wanted to get it replaced and fixed, so it was the least of my worries. And that cat is so weird. Yeah, but anyways, so basically I put an ad on Facebook. Now, when you want your car fixed and you're trying to make a deal and you're trying not to spend the amount that you would at a shop, you have to be very careful and cautious. You always, I mean, everyone's heard this saying, you get what you paid for. And it's really, really true. You have to be careful. If you love your car, it's okay to spend an extra couple bucks, save a little bit more to make sure that something's done to your car properly. Because if this car, whatever car you have that you care about, it's your baby. You don't want someone that you don't trust under your car destroying it, like what happened to me. So don't put an ad on Facebook and just trust some random bozo that you assume is a good person and that won't screw you over, because you will 100% get screwed over if you don't know this person and you can't trust anyone with your own belongings besides yourself, friends or family, or someone you trust. So that was my biggest mistake, was making a Facebook post claiming, you know, I said what I thought the problem was, and I was trying to figure out what it was exactly, because there was other things that it could have been besides just the throwout bearing. And I put a post up on Facebook with a picture of my car, basic description saying I'm in search of, you know, just a cheap mechanic. I just didn't have much money, and you know, that was my biggest mistake. My friend Gary told me that that I should get it done right, but I didn't listen, and I paid the price for it big time. So there was this guy, which I am going to call him out on this because he is and I quote, a piece of shit for doing this to me. And, you know, he's lucky I didn't blow his ass up on Facebook and post his profile picture and put him on blast. But you know what? Sometimes it's not always the person that's stupid, but it's the person who allowed themselves to get screwed over is just as stupid, because I was extremely dumb for what I did. I put my trust into a man that I didn't know. I let him take apart my car without even knowing this guy's face or name, or never even asking him any questions other than him telling me a price and him saying he could take care of it. He seemed like a great guy. It seemed like on his Facebook he had a good reputation with people, and I just was trying to look for a quick deal because I'm paying for my bills and kids, and it's just, things get, you don't want to drop $600-700 to drop your transmission and replace a throwout bearing. So he offered to do it for I believe $300 and come to my house and do it. And I thought it was too good to be true, and it really was. He came with his friend in the evening, and actually he came earlier in the afternoon. So let's move back a little bit. So he messaged me saying that he could help me out, told me the price. He understood my position and predicament that I was in, and he wanted to help me. So I told him my address. I told him if he could come diagnose it, bring the part and whatever, because we were almost 100% sure what it was. And he came around, I would say 5 p.m. I was leaving my friend's house because I was supposed to go to a car meet cruise, and I didn't go because he called me and said he just showed up. So I was like, okay, it's time to go. I flew there. I was excited to get the piece fixed. He sold me the part. The throwout bearing itself was $90, and then he was receiving $210 in labor, which is, that's an amazing price. He brought his jack, his tools, he brought a friend to help him with it, and he was really good at what he did. So he starts working on the car. I'm sitting there with him, offering them, drinks, water. Are you guys hungry? Can I get you food? Anything like that, because I was already, grateful. He came to my house and was helping me fix my car for cheaper than a shop. But my dumb ass, he takes apart the car in 45 minutes. He took off the whole drivetrain axle, he unbolted the starter, and I have long tube headers, so those of you who know, when you try to unbolt 2 bolts from a starter with long tube headers, that is so hard to do, and he did it. He released the dust cover on the clutch fork and released the clutch cable off the clutch fork and got all these pieces out, drained out a good amount of transmission fluid, and it was just, he did it so fast. In like 45 minutes, he just took apart my car, and I was like, damn, I found a good guy. I was talking to him the whole time. He was blowing fucking smoke up my ass, saying how good he is as a mechanic and what he could do for me. And he just was talking up a storm and just seemed like a really great guy until just something just didn't seem right. All of a sudden he goes, oh, damn it. And I'm like, oh, Christ. And he comes out of the car, from under the car, stands up all pissed off, and starts smoking a cigarette. And he looks at his friend. He's like, I don't have my swivel extension piece to get the 2 bolts on top of the transmission. And my first instinct in my head is like, Christ, he's a mechanic. He's so good at what he does. He knows what you have to do when he's working with these Mustangs, which he says he did, and the transmission to bring it down. Like, what tools you'll need. If it's your job, what tools you need. I don't know. I was really annoyed at first, but I'm also a very understanding guy. I was like, it's okay. He forgot a piece, he would just go get it and whatever. He said, he starts giving me, originally I only paid him for the part up front. I didn't pay him for the labor, obviously, because you're not supposed to pay someone for the labor until the work's done, correct? But no, I am the stupidest human being in the world, because I was thinking with my heart, because he goes and tells me I have to go all the way back to Geneva, and I don't have much gas, and I have to go all the way back to the shop. I have to check on my kids, and I could go get that part and come back either tonight or tomorrow. And I said, all right, you know what? So I give him the rest of the money. I'm like, go get gas, food, go get some cigarettes, get the piece, check on your kids, and you could come back tonight if I give you all the money. So I gave him, and then I was supposed to give him another 100 when he finished the job. So technically I didn't give him all of it, but he still had $200 in my money. So I gave him $110 towards labor and $90 for the part, with the part still in hand for me. And so I still owed him $100, but you know, I trusted him at first. I felt bad. I was like, you know, it's late at night. It was, you know, it wasn't raining much. It was sprinkling, and he was under the car. He was already tired, so I felt bad. Gave him all the money I had, which was the stupidest thing ever. So he goes, "Thank you so much," you know, all this stuff, and he disappears. So he goes home, and then I'm sitting around waiting for 3 hours, wondering where this guy's gone, and I'm thinking to myself, why isn't he texting me, calling me, nothing? Because, you know, Geneva's not that far away. It's 35 minutes, you know. And so I got worried. I texted him and said, "Hey, what's going on? You okay? Are you coming back tonight?" No reply. So I wait a little bit longer. I'm like, all right, I'll just be patient. And then I get really annoyed because I'm getting worried. I'm like, I gave this guy the money. My car's sitting in pieces outside. I don't have a driveway. And so I was getting bothered. So I give him a call, and he throws me the biggest excuse in the world and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. I just got carried away with stuff. I can't come back tonight." And I'm just like thinking in my head, I'm like, why the fuck didn't you call me? I'm sitting here for 3 hours. I'm smoking cigs, sitting on my porch, staring at my car in pieces, feeling anxious. When you see your car in pieces, it makes you feel anxious because it's just sitting there. People walking by, and all your parts are on the ground. So I immediately got worried. But I gave the benefit of the doubt because I am stupid. You know, I'm very stupid. My heart was, you know, I was being nice and thinking, you know, give him the benefit of the doubt. He's probably tired. He's going to come back. He left his jack, you know, he left a 2-ton jack, you know, under the car and some of his tools. So I'm like, it's fine. You know, if he left some of his tools, it's going to be okay. So then fast forward to the next day. It's about 12 noon. He was supposed to show up at about 8 to 10 a.m. like he stated he would. And once again, a no call, no show. I called him, wouldn't answer, wouldn't show up. All of a sudden he texts me, "Hey man, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, but you know, you got to kind of tell me that. I know you got a life too, but you know, I'm sitting around doing nothing, waiting on you. And you know, my girl wants to go do stuff. Everyone wants to go do stuff, and I can't go anywhere because I'm waiting on you." So he's like, "Okay, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 30 minutes. So I'm like, sweet, finally. You know, I got worried and now I felt good. About an hour and a half later, his friend calls me and goes, "Oh, hey man, his tooth is swollen and I had to take him to the ER," and just give me all these bullshit ass excuses and lies. And I was like, okay, here we go with the fucking excuses, and I was really pissed off. And I'm giving the benefit of the doubt again because he was complaining about his tooth hurting the day he came, and apparently he got pills and all sorts of stuff to help his teeth and whatever. So now I'm sitting there, and I'm like, listen, man, I'm like, you gave me an excuse after excuse already. You gave me like 3 different excuses. The night before, you made me wait for 3 hours, and once again, here I am with my car in pieces, and I'm like, can you send your friend? "Oh, well, my friend doesn't know stuff. He's just there to help me, whatever." So I'm like, okay, can you come in the morning? He goes, yeah, I could come in the morning, no problem. You know, just give me bullshit ass excuses, whatever the case. So I'm just like, whatever. So I'm sitting there pissed off, smoking a cigarette, staring at my car in pieces once again. I'm starting to feel worried. I'm like, doesn't he want his tools? Does he not want his tools? And I just, you know, waited a whole nother night. So now it's the next day. It's supposed to forecast to rain later in the evening. I remember, yeah, it was supposed to rain, which it did. It poured. And all day I'm sitting there. My girl and her sister went out, go and do whatever they wanted to do while I sat there waiting for him once again, because it's the next day. No reply, not showing up, and just giving me excuse after excuse again. "Hey man, I got really busy and I have to work late and I don't know when I could come there." And so I start bitching him out, and I'm like, yo, I'm like, this is the second or third day now, and yeah, it's the second day, almost the third night. And I go, oh, I'm like, dude, I said my car's in pieces. It's supposed to rain soon. I can't keep it up. Like, my car is lifted up on jack stands like an idiot on a small incline, because that's where my street is. It's like inclined a little bit. So I start, you know, kind of bitching him out. I'm like, dude, I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I gave you money to get gas, food, and now you're giving me excuse after excuse. And he's like, well, you know, and I was just, and then I hit him with if the job was too hard, you should have just told me from the start. And then apparently I hit him in his little dick ego. And he's like, oh, you don't tell me that the job was too hard. I know I'm a mechanic and all this stuff, and I know what I'm doing, which I believed him. I mean, he took apart my car in 45 minutes. But he just starts, getting upset. And I'm just like, listen, just give me my money back then. Come get your tools, give me the money back, put my car back together, and we'll call it even. And I'll let you keep a few bucks for just, whatever. I'll give you the part back, you sell it, whatever the case. He goes, no, I'm coming. You know what? I'll come right now. And I'm like, okay, I thought your fucking tooth was hurting. Now you're busy at work, but now you could come. Okay. So he states he's coming, and he's like, on my way, sends me a text, on my way. 45 minutes. I'm just like, he's still not here. An hour goes by. I call him, no answer. Call him, no answer. Call him, no answer. And I'm like, all right. So, I'm sitting there pissed off. I'm like, yup, I got screwed over. This is what I get for trusting people when I shouldn't. I'm fucking stupid, and I should have just saved up money and got it fixed myself and at a shop, because you could trust the shop more than some piece of shit. And yes, Bobby Law, if you're watching this video, you are a piece of shit, because I told you that I gave you some of the last money that I needed to get groceries with and stuff like that, because I was trying to get the car fixed, and you screwed me over. I told you that. I already fucking went in, but I'm gonna fucking blast you one day. I'm gonna post your ugly little picture, and fuck you for screwing me over. But whatever. Anyways, so I'm at the point where he's not replying, giving me bullshit ass excuses, and just disrespecting the hell out of me. But at that point, I couldn't go search for him because my car was in pieces, and I was just like, okay, it's about to rain, and all my starter and my drive shaft is just, everything's on the ground. What am I gonna do? So I sat there and I paced back and forth, smoking a couple of cigarettes, and I'm just thinking, this is my karma for trusting someone that I shouldn't have. I was being ignorant. I was thinking with my heart instead of common sense that you can't trust the soul. And so I made that executive decision. It was like, I think it was like 2:00, and I was like, all right, it's time. I'm gonna lose my shit. My car's in pieces, and I was pissed off. So basically, I went under the car, and not even using a YouTube video or anything is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's just kind of piecing things together. But I went under the car. It took me 7 hours. I had gashes on my back, and I put my car back together. I put everything back together. I could only fit one bolt on the starter because I couldn't reach, because I didn't have a swivel piece or anything at all. It was so hard, and I had everything done. It took me about 6-7 hours because it was more to it than just because I didn't have the right tools. He had the right tools, which he took with him. All I had was his jack and his stands, and he had my bolts lying all over the ground and my pieces everywhere. I was livid. I wanted to beat his ass, and honestly, I do believe in karma. So what goes around comes around. I even searched for him, but I couldn't find him. I went through Geneva asking around and going to different mechanic shops, and the place he said he worked at wasn't listed as real or whatever. I don't know. But it actually was him. That was his real name. He's had the account forever. I just can't figure out where he works. But karma's a bitch, and I know it's going to come after him hard. I hope he enjoyed that money and at least used it for his family. But anyways, I put the car back together, and I was so happy and proud of myself because, I'm bolting everything up. It's taking me forever. It's fucking hot under the car, and it was horrible. I came out just black oil all over me and dirt and freaking back destroyed. And I was so happy, but except one thing got in my way. And it was the most obnoxious thing. And then, so everything's together, but I still couldn't drive it. On the 2003 Mustangs, the clutch cable, it's not one that you could push through and thread a nut on there and tighten it to, attach to the clutch fork. It's actually one of those, just the cables where you have to use a pry bar to completely force back that clutch fork and pop the cable into place. And those of you who have my Mustang year and in a manual transmission understands that you need the right tool for that. And I currently was stuck because it was closed. Everything was closed, so I couldn't do it. And so I had my friend Sandro. That's my best friend. Shout out to Sandro. He's awesome. Right after work, he came flying over, and he got under the car with me, and we tried everything we can to get that clutch cable in, and we couldn't do it for the life of us, no matter what we did. It was horrible. I was so close to getting the car fixed, and it was driving me nuts, stressing me out just thinking about it, because but it taught me to not trust anyone, and it did teach me how to put my car back together, which was great. But anyway, so Sandro and I are under there. You know, we have two little lights. You know, it's freaking, I'm pretty sure the ground was still slightly wet because it rained. And we're sitting there wondering how the hell do we get this clutch cable in, and we tried everything. We didn't have a pry bar. That was actually the problem. This was the beautiful $13 pry bar that actually saved my life, and I was able to do it. I actually, oh shit, how do I get this back on? Yeah, I actually didn't even get that till the next day. The next day and the day after, so I believe it was a Saturday night, I put my car back together. I didn't get it running and driving till Monday. So Sandro and I gave up. He actually got in trouble. I think he got in trouble with his girl because, you know, he directly, you know, she's hungry and he just got out of work, and instead of going home and getting food or whatever, he flew to me immediately to help me because he's a very kind person, and he's very selfless, and he was a great guy, and he took an L to come help me. But I think he came back I think the same night, and then brought her with food or whatever, or the next night. I'm not sure because it was such a stressful weekend. I don't even remember the time frames. But I do know that we couldn't get it no matter what we did. We needed a pry bar, and I didn't have that information until the next day. And so now it's Sunday, I believe, and I'm trying all sorts of stuff trying to get it on there. My dad even came. He tried to get it on there. You just needed so much force to push that clutch fork forward to get that clutch cable on. I mean, it's the clutch, when you push it down already, it's so tight, and it's like I get into all the newer cars, I press the clutch down, and it feels so smooth and easy but for some reason these ones, you have to use some force to get it down, so you can only imagine trying to get a cable on there. But anyways, it's, I believe, Monday. I gave up all Sunday. I tried. I had two people try again with me. We couldn't get it. So Monday comes around. My car is still on jack stands, and I was at the point of just losing my mind. I called Bobby Law. I'm like, listen, man, I can't get this clutch cable on. You know, I'm losing my mind here. I just want to drive my car. I had a long weekend. You know, I wasted it. You know, my girl and I couldn't do anything with the kids or go enjoy our weekend because I was, you know, obsessed with trying to get this car to work. So I was at my limit of, I was begging because I couldn't find him. I couldn't, you know, and he wouldn't come. I begged him. I said, listen, man, you know, I said, you could keep the money and do whatever. Can you just get my car running again? Can you get the one bolt back in the starter? And can you freaking just get the clutch cable back on? And obviously I was fibbing, because when he came over, I was gonna fucking bitch him out until he gave me back my money, because you don't fucking do that to people. But anyways, he said, yeah, okay, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 30 minutes. No, never showed up again. Completely dissed me. And it's Monday, so I'm like, you know what, fuck this. I go to the auto store, I think like a hardware store down the road, and I bought this pry bar. I got under the car, and it took me about 45 minutes to an hour of I literally was under the car, facing the front, so I'm this way, slid under the car. I got two sketchy jack stands holding up my car, and the 2-ton jack holding it on the driver's side because it's closest to the transmission. And I'm under there. I got my foot pressed against I think one of the long tube headers, and my other foot pressed against like the ground as hard as possible. And I'm using both hands to pry that clutch fork so close to me as possible coming this way. So I had to bring the clutch fork up like that so I could push the clutch cable through, slide it down, and it would lock in place. It took me so long. I almost passed out a couple times. It was hot. I was just pulling on it. Felt like my arms were being ripped off. And it came down to I literally was praying. I was saying out loud, I almost got it. And I'm just pulling and pulling and pulling. And I finally got the clutch cable in. And when I released it and just saw it just smoothly go into place, I just literally laid there after days of trying to get everything to work. And I was just like, I screamed fuck so loud. I was just like, fuck. I'm like, finally, oh my God, it was absolutely horrible. But yeah, so I got it working again. I went on my first drive around the block. Well, actually, there was one funny thing that happened before I could drive it. I had the dumb jack under the driver's side, and it was slid in so far where the actual bar, the handle that you hold it wasn't secured in. And when I went to loosen it, I accidentally lifted it up, and the the housing of where the handle goes in actually flew under the car. So I couldn't get the freaking jack out, and I was like, oh geez, here we go. And actually a neighbor had a jack, so he came over, jacked the car up, and I was able to slide the other jack out. So that was just a stupid little thing at the end, which didn't bother me at all because I was just happy that the clutch was working. So I go back in the car and I press down the clutch, and I finally had pressure again. I was finally able to drive the car, and I swear, the first drive around the block just after not having it all weekend was so worth it. And I was also making sure I pieced everything back up together and made sure it was driving fine. But it was amazing. I was so happy to get my car on the freaking road again. And a couple of you guys who are watching this understands the story. I actually put it on my Snap story and told a few of you guys. So now you hear the full story in detail. And you know, I was super happy to get it driving. And you know, I thank you, Sandro, for coming out and taking out for me. I'll never forget that. That was really nice of you. So late at night, and then other people who gave me moral support when I was suffering under the car. But yeah, and then I would also like to say fuck you, Bobby Law, for literally ruining my weekend, for destroying my back. I was sore for days, for disrespecting me, disrespecting my family, taking my money, and taking advantage of me, even though I was stupid to trust you. I will never trust a single soul again with my car, unless if I trust you, fine, but I'll never trust a stranger again. So yeah, moral of the story, if you don't know the person, don't trust them with your car. You try to learn it yourself if it's things you can learn. Obviously, if it's something you can't do on your own, then pay a shop. Don't do some cheap mobile mechanic who's gonna screw over your stuff, because it really cost me and it sucked. Yeah, but besides that, I mean, I got a new jack now, so I got the 2-ton jack. I got to keep that. That's in the trunk, and it was I'm grateful for the knowledge I learned. I mean, I pieced that car back together with no YouTube videos, and I put it together, and I felt proud. And you know, I could see I had some friends that were willing to jump and come try to help me, and I do appreciate those people. And yeah, I know I look stupid in this story, but you know, you live and you learn. But yeah, fuck you, Bobby Law, asshole. But yeah, that's basically the end of the story. That was just a throw-out bearing going to hell, and it was the most stressful, painful situation you could ever deal with. You know, no one wants to see their pride and joy sitting in pieces on the middle of a public street, main street, and be disrespected by your money being stolen. And I still haven't heard from him from this day. You know, half of me hopes that one day I run into him so I could just whoop his ass. And half of me wants to just put all the screenshots of the messages and all of his lies and his excuses and, you know, put his profile out there and just call him out and just, you know. But when it comes down to it, you know, I blame myself for trusting someone. And I do understand that, you know, that people are fucking dumb and you just kind of got to live with the choices you make. And I do believe in karma, and I do believe that it will get him for what he did. But yeah, but besides that, I hope everyone enjoyed the story time. The clutch does work, even though it hasn't been driven in 2 weeks, which I keep doing nice cold starts and making sure the car is running. I really miss driving it. It's driving me nuts. But yeah, so another thing is that I do have the paint and everything coming. My best friend Sandro, he actually just purchased a compressor, has an air hose, and we'll be getting the paint sprayer soon. So he helped me out with that, because we're also going to be painting his car, meaning that after mine is done in the next 2 weeks, you guys are going to see a brand new Mustang inside this garage before winter hits, with a whole new paint job as well, and a nice car review of his beautiful built GT 96 Mustang. So I'm excited for that as well. We're getting very close to getting this done. I've just been taking my time, and I didn't want to rush it. I just have this gut feeling that if I rush the job, some things are not going to turn out right, and you know, no one wants to do that. So just bear with me, and I promise this is going to come out beautiful. And a lot of content is coming the next couple of weeks. So thank you very much for tuning in. And Simba the cat and me are out.